We are going to kick off today's broadcast with Mr. Wayne LaPierre, NRA Executive Vice President and CEO, who joins us right now. Wayne, how you doing, sir?
Hey, Cam, I'm okay. I'll tell you, the NRA Institute for Legislative Action did an amazing job, and gun owners all over this country, the NRA members, it was just amazing what they did on election night. They beat President Obama. They stopped him dead in his tracks in his attempt to take away our freedom, and I tell you, I thank them with every ounce of my heart.
Well, you're absolutely right, Wayne. You look at the Senate, House pickups, state legislative races all across the country, governorships. It really was a voice from gun owners that we saw coast to coast.
Yeah, it really was. It was their $25 donations to the Institute for Legislative Action, their hard work, their NRA membership. They're going out and knocking on doors. They're voting. But I'll tell you, you look at these states, race after race, where these big races were decided all over the country. It was gun owners that put those candidates time after time over the top, that got the job done. And what they did that night, I'll tell you, it was big. It was unbelievable. It was courageous. It was important. And it beat back those folks that were trying to take away more of our American freedom. And, I really appreciate the chance to be with you, because I really wanted to know what they did was amazing, that it changed the history of this country. They provided the margin of victory, and I'll tell you, every American owes NRA members and gun owners a debt of gratitude.
Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on the program, Wayne, and you're right. So a lot of these races we didn't even the political prognosticators never even saw it coming. The Maryland governor's race, where Anthony Brown was running as the supporter of the Maryland gun control laws, and he lost handily. New York State's legislature, state senate, back in control of folks who would be able to put a stop to any second round of SAFE Act. The impact again across the country, I think, is undeniable. That we saw here in race after race. We know 2016 is going to be a big election year, but we got to acknowledge, again, you're right, the fantastic job that gun owners did here on Election Day. Well, thank you so much for coming to the program.
That's an important point, though.
Yeah.
We've won the first half here of the game, but we won't win the battle until we win all of the game. And 2016 is a big deal. One thing I learned in this election is that our members and American gun owners are up to the challenge. But this is a window that goes from 2014 to 2016. If we end up with an anti-Second Amendment president in 2016, all we've worked for the last 30 years, or our freedom since the founding of the country, could be in jeopardy. Supreme Court appointments, unilateral action on the part of the executive branch. There's going to be more big races, and it's important we get stronger every day, our membership. It's important we keep it growing. It's important we work harder. Everything we do now has to point toward that window in 2016, and we need to do it together. We need to get NRA stronger, because we're going to have the fight of our lives for American freedom in that 2016 election, and we have to win it. We have no alternative.
Talking with Wayne LaPierre, absolutely. And, between now and then, Wayne, again, you talk about that very perilous time where we've got a president who already has demonstrated a willingness to ignore Congress, and who knows what's coming. I think one of the benefits we see, though, in this election is that now you've got folks in control of, let's say, the Senate Judiciary Committee, who are going to put a renewed focus on Fast and Furious. We just saw the release of some 64,000 pages, finally, of documents in Fast and Furious. The Obama administration is still withholding more, but I think this provides an opportunity for us to get to the bottom of some of these scandals that have remained out there for years.
And no doubt about it. I believe, looking at the whole Fast and Furious thing, that they had a communication and strategy, the Obama administration did, to blame the actions of the Mexican drug cartels on the Second Amendment to the United States in order to seek more anti-Second Amendment legislation in the United States. Fast and Furious, that whole operation that they ran where they were sending guns to Mexico. They were doing press conferences that there were guns going to Mexico. They were telling the U.S. attorneys that they couldn't prosecute, and then they were claiming credit for the tracing statistics. All of that made their narrative seem to be true. And when in fact it was like the president, the vice president, the attorney general, and the secretary of state acting like a barbershop quartet with that whole 90% of the guns are coming from Mexico, 90% of the guns. It was never true. I mean, and yet that's the narrative they were trying to put out there. And I think that we're going to discover a lot now that the Senate has the ability to investigate. And but you know, it's another reason why we have to keep going forward. I mean, we beat the Bloombergs, we beat the Clintons, and I mean this time, but they're not going away. And if they win in 15 and 16, the damage that they can do to the Second Amendment is unimaginable. So the only option we have, and every American that cares about this freedom, and it's not the NRA. It's people one by one all over the country, our members that make up the NRA. That's where the clout is. That's what I love about this organization and why it stands on principle and fight. But we are never going to have a bigger challenge than what we have to pull off together in 2016.
Wayne LaPierre. Listen, sir, it's always a pleasure getting a chance to talk with you. I appreciate you coming on the program. Thank you for everything that you've done this election season.
I'm happy to do what I do, but I'll tell you, they'd run me out of town in 5 minutes if it wasn't for Americans all over this country and NRA members that believe in these freedoms in their heart and are determined not to lose them. That's the key to the whole thing. We do it one by one, and that's what the media never understands. That's what so many politicians never understand. It's people that are determined to not lose this freedom. And by gosh, they made a big statement with an exclamation point on Election Day in 2014.
Yes, they did. Wayne, thank you, sir, and I look forward to talking again very soon.
Hey, thanks, Cam. Take care.
All right, thank you. Wayne LaPierre joined us, Executive Vice President, CEO of the National Rifle Association.